Riba is a terrible sin. Easily move your business or personal insurance to Amana IFS. Call 0861 786 393 and leave Reba for good. That was an advert for Reba for Amana IFS. And coming back to our show, we're going to be having an interview with a very interesting gentleman who's actually, as I always say, talking about bridging the gaps, changing things, changing the way we perceive things, which I think is important. I'm going to be speaking to a gentleman by the name of Charley Pietersen, and he's going to be talking to us about, is South Africa a fatherless nation? And of course, what impact does absent fatherhood have on the social and moral fiber of our country? He's also the founder of Growing Up Without a Father Foundation. Charley Peterson's going to unpack the story to us and, of course, tell us about how he went about creating this whole idea of putting this concept together. Because, many a times, as I say, it's about defining the needs of communities and then, of course, changing that way we see things and making things better. And as we were speaking earlier about the youth, this is something that affects them in many directions. Um, and that is why we need to look at that really, really stringently and ask ourselves the question, about how is it that we can make somebody's life better? How is it that we can change a person's life for the better? And I think this is where Charlie has come in, because, as you know, a father is we call them father figures for a reason, because it's not just a mother that plays an important role in a person's life, but it's having that father figure to be able to direct them from a different version of things. So let me tell you just a little bit about the vision, but also about Charley Pietersen. But I think maybe it's best to get him on the line and chat to him. So let's just see if he's on for us. Is Charlie on there? A very good day to
Yes,
you,
yes.
Mr. Peterson. How are you doing this morning?
I'm good and you, Navisa.
I'm well, thank you. It's such a pleasure to have you on our show this morning, having to
Thank
discuss,
you so much.
should we say, a very pertinent topic that many a times gets taken for granted and looked at in a direction to say that, we're not looking at it, I think, with the importance that it really deserves to be looked at with. So, talk to us a little
Yes.
bit about yourself, and then we can pen out the story about how we put this whole idea of the foundation together.
Okay. Navisa, thank you so much. Like you said, my name is Charley Pietersen. I was born and bred in the Free State in
Mm-hmm.
Smithfield, next to Bloemfontein some years ago, born from a single mother.
Mm-hmm.
And my father decided now that, he's going to end everything after my birth. And he just left my mother.
Mm-hmm. Uh, Charlie, are you
Just
still
like
there? You seem
Navisa.
to be you seem to be breaking up. Let's try that one more time.
Okay.
Okay,
Was
that's
I
better.
start
Sorry.
again?
Yeah, if you can just let us know a little bit about what you said a little earlier. We just seem to have missed out on that important conversation that you're having with us.
Okay. I said my name is Charlie Pietersen. I was born and bred in the Free State, close to Bloemfontein some years ago. And I was in a town in Smithfield. And I was raised by a single mother, my mother, because my father decided just to leave after I was born,
Mm,
to better prospects. I don't know, because I met him when I was
mhm,
21, and I asked him, why did you decide to leave? He said, no, man, your uncles, were bullying me. I said, hey, man, how can a man leave a child? Because the
mm, mm,
uncles were bullying him. And later, when time came, I also find out that he also fathered another child in the same town where I stayed. So
mm,
actually, that's my sister. And
mm,
also when I met with him, I asked him, his name was also Charlie. Charlie, how many of us have you fathered out there? And
mm,
he said, there's a few of you, Charlie. So it meant that I still have a lot of brothers and sisters that I that I've never seen or met,
Mm,
through the years that I would love to meet one day. So there was a few of us. He said,
mm.
so, and from there, because, growing up without a father, you've got that identity problem as a child, especially a boy, when you start to confront
Yes.
life.
Most
They
definitely, I agree
they
with you because the thing is, it's
come
about
to
as I said earlier when I started off, is, a
mm,
father you take as a father figure. A mother and a
mm,
father don't play the same roles. Each one
no,
has their specific role that they play.
yes,
And the importance of creating that balance is what's needed for a person to become
yes,
a stable person, because a father
yes,
gives you direction in a certain way and a mother gives you direction in
mm,
another way. And I think it's the
yes,
guidance of a father that kind of rounds you up to be that
yes,
person that you go out there and stand up for yourself as a man as you grow up. And what
yes,
I like about
yes,
you is that you say you're passionate and intentional about investing in society in a meaningful way.
mm,
And you're displaying this passion through this determination to alleviate the impact of fatherless in the nation, which I think is
mm.
absolutely phenomenal. And I want to congratulate you and accolade you on that. And I'll tell you why. Because
Thank you so
I
much.
think this is a gap that needs to be bridged, that and people need to
Mm,
start taking notice of, because it's a subject that gets ignored many a times, and I'm sure you'll agree with me with as far as that goes. In many
big
instances you
time.
find people will say, oh, shame that poor child doesn't have a dad, but won't think about,
Oh,
are there solutions that we can pen out to be able to bridge that gap so that child
mm,
that is, and I'm sure it affects you on a mental basis, on a physical
big time.
basis, and of course, in the way you grow up and the person you become.
Self-confidence, self-love, because you lack self-confidence, self-love, because, even Avisa, how I started to write a book, growing up without a father. It was
Mm,
on a Father's Day, I was sitting in church. Look where was I sitting in church. And in church, what they did on that day, they call out the fathers that are present.
mm,
Any fathers that are present in church, can you please stand up? And the kids stand up. You see already there, you sitting there in the back. Now, I'm a father now of my children.
mm,
But when we said any fathers here, of their children, so I'm representing my kids, but my gap and my void is open. I never had a father. So it shows you
mm,
that it starts in church also, where they crack the wound, and then you go to school where they make fun of you. School is very cruel. I always tell people, school is a playing ground and it is very cruel. They will tell you, tell us about your father. There I'm
mm,
sitting, I don't have a father. What do I say?
mm,
Do I lie? Then as a small child, you started to begin lying and say, no, my father is working out of town.
mm, mm,
And you go from grade to grade and you repeat the same thing, and they started making fun of you and said, no, man, we know that you don't have a father. So
mm,
that's where that hate, anger, bitterness, everything started. And that's why you see most of the prisons, if you go to prison now, that 90% of especially the male prisoners are there
mhm,
because of the lack of a father in their life. Go talk to a gang now,
mm, mm,
gangsters and everything. You'll see that most of the boys are running to this gang to be part of something, a sense of
mm.
belonging, to be
Yes.
told that you are a great boy, man, go kill, go steal, and everything. And when you come back, it's a celebration and it's an embracement that you never had, as a boy growing
Mm,
up. And also looking at girls. Girls growing up
mm,
without fathers are also having that, a girl needs affirmation. She needs to be told she's beautiful. She needs to be told she's great and everything. And who's telling her? The monsters out there, the
mm.
blacks and the ones that really just want her in her body. And after that,
Yes.
move to a next one. So this is the
Yeah, and I
problem that
think I agree with you, Charlie. I think people don't see the
mm,
negativity that comes out of it and how we need to change it.
yes,
And we need to shift those
yes,
societal practices, especially amongst fathers, towards
mm,
to create a healthy family life by mobilizing stakeholders and,
yes,
planning an address to scourge this. Building a sustainable
mm,
program that involves all members of society and also
yes,
targeting those young ones to say that this is not the way of life. Get people that
Mm-mm.
could play that father figure level. Look, many a children, as we know,
Yes,
some of them are orphaned, some of them don't have a dad, and only a
not at
mom.
all.
So it's to be able to should we say, play that little father figure role, to say that we have a support structure. And this is what I love about your foundation, and I needed to
Yes,
discuss it with you today, is that you reach out to the vulnerable, marginalized, and expand the
yeah,
spheres of influence that would make meaningful and sustainable contribution to this dilemma, which I think
yes,
is absolutely necessary and vital for us to be able to. And earlier I spoke to my team and we spoke about Youth Month, and that the youth are our
mm,
future. But so, what sort of youth are we bringing up, and what sort of youth
yes.
are going to turn into stable young men who have a very different version of
Oh,
the outlook? And as you were saying, like they do right now, our elements of crime
mm,
are possibly a reason due to this. As you were saying, they don't know where they belong. So, the easier place to
yes,
belong would be in a gang.
yes. Now, Visa, if you look at all social ills that you can find, you'll find out the
Mm,
cause of every social ill is the lack of a father in the lives of those kids. And what I'm saying to government, I said, government, you throw money into GBP, you throw a
mm,
lot of money into condoms, you're throwing a lot of money into HIV programs, but you miss the root cause of all those things, and that is fatherlessness. And I believe that
mm,
fatherlessness needs to be taken up, at the level of parliament. Even the
mm,
ones that are in parliament that has rejected their kids, that they fathered outside of
mm,
wedlock, they also need to be addressed, because they need to go back and look for those kids that they rejected. Because most of our men, you find yourself in a position now, a
mm,
big position, and you father two, three kids outside of wedlock, and suddenly now the new family, the one that's coming with the benefits, are the ones you are looking after, and you forget about the ones that you left behind. So my thing
mm,
is that we have to man up. Men like now, we're so too late. I was telling people, my son asked me, he said, Daddy, are you not actually wasting your time? With things like this? Because my one friend had a baby now. He will refer to things that are happening in reality. I said to him, what is key? We have to plant the seed. When you were
mm,
small, Colgate will come to your school and give you a toothbrush and a toothpaste, and you
mm,
still remember Colgate. We need to get to the level of our education where we really put this on the agenda from small, teaching our
mm,
kids, about these things, and take it to parliament. If we have a department of women and disability and girls, then we also need a department of men and boys,
mm.
because it's
What
key.
would you say? How can, society and the communities out there
Mm,
start changing this mindset of thinking and trying to change the narrative of every single community? Because, as I said before, it doesn't start just at government level, it has to start
mm,
at
in
community
the
level.
home. Mm,
Yeah, as they say, charity begins at home, and then, as far as this goes, education also begins at home. So what we're
yes,
saying is, we need to maybe get a role model in each community to be able
yeah,
to play that part, and direct
yes,
these young ones in every single community. And I think that's going to be half your win, Charlie, because
yes.
with the type of organization that you have the platform to
Mm,
be able to go and create maybe a road show from place to place, or educate, or have a workshop and educate people from different communities, invite them over and say, look, this is the situation we're facing. These are the dilemmas of community. And the unfortunate part is the youth are getting impacted in the most ways possible. So let's
yes.
pen out a way going forward. And how do we do that? We do that by educating them and saying, look, this is how you can open up the structure of making youth more communicable towards the
Mm,
person that's the role model. Because I always believe that communication is key. And if there's a particular
mm,
youth member that has an issue, through your organization and you
mm,
teaching others what you're doing, taking your role model structure, your model, your business model, that's what I'm going to call it, and
mm.
turning it into other communities, as I think what's going to give you the win-win situation.
this is what we're doing, Lavisa. You see, the problem is that we self-funded. We're not funded by government. So you can do as much as you can afford. So if you look at our profile on especially on the internet, you'll see how far it became, because we believe that, I'm trying to get hold of your artists, your soccer players, your all people that are in the spheres of influence to come and become role models. But most of them, you'll find they're also so broken. They don't want to touch this thing. They don't want to be involved in something, that can change a nation's life, because, your pain, I always said my pain is actually my way of healing somebody else. Because if somebody else, yes, if that person goes with that pain, that's why you'll find a lot of broken homes. You'll find that I was in Cape Town in Lavender Hill. Lavender Hill is a very notorious area where gangsterism is thriving and everything. So I spent 2 days there. There was a father and a son that reconciled after many, many years. They reconciled in my conference. So the father fathered this boy when he was still married to another woman. And he rejected this young man, who's now a father of a lot of kids. So that anger and bitterness that one is living with, because we're going into society as a very angry nation because of our past. And we have to break that barrier. So I'm pleading to role models. I do have, like, Bernard Parker of Kaiser Chiefs is one of our ambassadors.
That's amazing.
Yes, he also grew up. The father was there, but he was actually not there. You find the present absent father. That he is there in the house, but he's actually not there. So Bernard has joined us in the campaign. We work with the likes of Fabian McCarthy. We work with a lot of celebrities, but the others that we're reaching out to, they don't want to come to the front, They don't want to tackle this thing hands-on.
Yes, that's true. Stick with us. We're just going to go for a quick break, and when we come back, I think we can pen this out further. So stay with us, Charlie.
Okay.
Thank you.
Listen to something fresh. Listen to Salam Media, your humanitarian broadcaster.
Thousands of Syrian Palestinian refugees and Lebanese children do not have access to education. Amman means safety and is a school that provides formal education from kindergarten to grade 9. African Muslims Agency aims to provide 650 children with education that will change the trajectory of their lives and their families' lives. Fulfill your intention by fulfilling their dreams. Donate 16,000 Rand per child or any amount. Go to africamuslimsagency.co.za or call us on 011 834 8685. Africa Muslims Agency, empowering, educating, inspiring.
It's a wonder how kids get anything done these days with all the distractions.
No, it's not the volume. The sound just went suddenly. It's blank.
Recipients. Phone our offices at 041 484 1288 or visit our website at www.alfida.co.za. The Al-Fida Foundation, your social investment partner in the Eastern Cape.
It's a new beginning. It's a new era. Salam Media, humanitarian journalism.
Amana IFS provides Sharia approved insurance and investments. They are expanding nationally and looking for qualified insurance advisors. Send your CV to work at amana.co.za. That's Amana IFS. And we're back in the show talking to brother, our real, should we say, I'm gonna call him our role model in society for uplifting men and changing the direction of which the in manner in which they think. And it's brother Charley Pietersen. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you,
Charlie,
Navita.
before we left, we were so into speaking about many of people having this, I think, mindset of not wanting to
Mm,
come on for various reasons. And I think
mm,
it's something we need to go out and maybe get life coaches or somebody to make people understand. And I think you should get life coaches
yeah,
involved because these are people that understand the kind of situations and challenges people have gone through and have faced
yes.
and are still facing, to be able to, maybe have a 1 day session where people come out and
Mm,
listen to a life coach and talk about the importance of having to look at this particular situation, and of course trying to support it, because we know we need to build a sustainable program. I mean, members of society are
mm,
affected in many directions through this, and also to bring men across racial lines together
mm.
through dialogue, because people think, it's a particular type of, for example, gender, or should we say
Yes,
race, that literally
yes,
goes through this. And in many
mm,
instances, in a general consensus, it actually isn't. It's something that every community, every type of race
yes.
faces in some way or the other.
All over the world, this is so huge.
Mm,
Like you said, you sum it up nicely. There's no color, there's no religion. It's just a
mm,
child that is suffering. You know, we do have these courses, Navisa, with life
mm.
coaches. Like on the 11th of June, we'll be at Mall of Africa.
Wow.
I think Jeremy Mufokeng, I don't know, him, the
Yes,
big
yes,
actor of Tosi.
yes.
He also discovered his father at the age of 58 that he's actually not a Mufokeng, but a Maheta.
Wow.
He believes speaking and saying Mias. So also joined by Craig Wilkinson. So we're going to speak to men and boys and even
Mm,
mothers to show them this big problem that we are sitting with. So we're trying our best, but we need each other's support. We need to tackle this thing, as South Africans, like we tackle COVID-19. I believe
mm,
the same urgency that we put into COVID-19 needs to be put into fatherlessness. I've also finished my documentary now on fatherlessness. I've
wow.
screened it in Bloemfontein. I've screened it in Centurion. So I'm trying to get it, from city to city to show people actually that, guys, this is a big problem, because if we can solve this problem, our economy will get better. Do you know that we spent almost, I think there's almost 19 million kids that are getting social grants from the
Mm,
government. So you ask yourself, 19 million plus
sure.
minus kids are getting social grants. So where is this government going? It's going to collapse. The system is
Mm,
going to collapse because we're just making babies and making babies. We need to start educating, like I said, from school level. I said, girls and boys, your father
mm,
did it. It doesn't mean that you must do it, because most of our boys, when you ask him, what are your dreams? What are your ambitions? He will tell you, I don't have, because my father never had dreams and ambitions.
mm.
I will also father more kids than my father has fathered. So that is his target as
Okay.
a boy.
So I think where we need to look at the penning out of the solution literally would be
Mm,
to change the mindset. Because until we don't
yes,
change that mindset, because we live in a stereo, unfortunately, and I'm going to say it like how it is, I hope I'm not shooting myself in the foot here, but we live in
mm,
a stereotype society where people look,
yes,
like little horses with blinkers on their eyes and say, this is just how it
mm,
is. And the subject so called becomes taboo, and it's not something that they want to talk about, and they prefer
yes,
to actually ignore it, thinking that the solution is going to pan out itself, when in many directions that is
never.
not the way that things work. So in order to get it
Mm,
to work, we need to actually take a stand together as a society and say, what sort of a better quality of a society would we like to have, and what better quality of a man would we like to put out there who can then, of course, change the narrative of that particular society, not just his own
Yes,
family. And I've
yes,
seen many men do that. I mean, there's some men that are doing phenomenal things out there, including yourself.
100%.
In fact, I want to
100%.
accolade you. If I look at the amount of things you've done, gee, I was scared to actually read it out because I might not get done on time. But just to give people an idea, I mean, you've served on the PSL Board of Governors, working for Megapro
Yes,
Marketing as regional manager of the Free State and Northern Cape, later
yes,
recruited by FNB Bank, also general manager of Metro Sales, and it goes on and on and on. So it goes to
yeah,
show that if we change the mindset of
mm,
people, and I think that's the most important thing, because irrespective, I think that's what really leads us
yeah,
as people out there, is the type of focus and mindset that we walk out with and what
yes,
we think of ourselves. And I think children that go through fatherless situations need
mm,
some life coaching, because they look at themselves
they do.
with low self-esteem, and they look at
Yes,
themselves as though there's a stigma attached to them. And I think
mm,
we as
mm,
society are guilty for it in some manner, because we need to change
mm,
it through love and kindness and compassion and empathy, and
mm,
say, you know
mm.
what, it's okay. We know your dad's not there, but we as a community are there for you. What is it that we can
Yes,
do to try and make your life better?
100%. Navisa, my biggest dream and vision before I depart, from this earth, is to set up a academy for boys, fatherless boys and orphans,
Mm,
where we can train them, all the things that we talk about: identity, self-esteem, self-love, discipline, honor, self-development, and everything. And I need millions, and my vision and my dream is to hook up with Tyler Perry.
mm,
I know
mm,
your station is huge. If somebody can sponsor out my foundation of 60,000 to get me to Atlanta, Georgia, to start my first conversation, I have the same conversation with Steve Harvey. Because
mm,
I believe that if South Africans cannot help me, I cannot sit. I need to reach out, because Oprah is having a school in South Africa. So, Ty, why can't you have a school for boys? Because you were
mm,
also molested as a young boy. You were
mm,
10 years old, molested 4 times. You know that boys are being molested, they are being raped. Boys, also the
mm,
same thing that we think is happened to girls, is happening to boys. And if
mm,
boys can open up, we need to find a safe way and a safe place for them to start to open up and say, you know what, my uncle is molesting me, or I was raped
mm.
when I was small. So, but if you don't have that safe environment, they're not coming out of it.
Yeah, talking about that, Charlie, it's about creating that safe haven, firstly,
Mm,
creating different individuals. But I think also
mm.
those perpetrators need to be educated and not stigmatized. We
Yes,
need to look at them and
yes,
say, we need to teach them and make them understand. That's why I talked about mindset, is make them understand that
mm,
that's not the norm of society and that's not how things
mm,
need to be done. So I think education needs to happen through those spheres as well. What words
yes.
would you like to leave us with this morning? Unfortunately, we seem to have run out of time.
Navisa, to me, is that it's not too late. And to each and every young man and young woman out there that grew up without a father, is that you need to find your own purpose. You need to find your own dream, and you need to find your own space. Because blaming your father does not bring you anything. It just makes you angry and
Mm,
angry, angry. So you're not your father, and your father is not you. There is a purpose. You are here for a purpose. Find that purpose and move on. There's no stigma on you, man. You Charley Pietersen, man. You're not, yeah, that one grew up without a father. No, you Charley Pietersen. You Navisa. That's it. Operate in
mm,
that environment where this is me and this is what I want to achieve, and go for it. And find yourself a role model. I never had some role models, but I started to read books about positive people and changing lives. And our people don't read. Our kids must start reading, because with
mm,
reading, you are traveling. I used to travel in my mind as a young boy to a
mm,
better place, better than the one that I'm sitting with. I will travel, and tomorrow morning you'll find a smile on my face. They will laugh at me, my cousins and brothers, and say, we went to bed hungry. and we angry and we waking up angry, you waking up with a smile. I said, no, man, I was in Los Angeles last night.
Mm.
How? In my mind. The power of the mind and the power of the conscious mind, like you said.
Yeah. So I want to thank you so much for being so inspirational, and I wish you all the successes. And I hope that you get this necessary support structures into place.
Thank
But I
you.
think it's maybe having an indaba and just getting all the
Yes,
necessary key role players involved, and then taking it forward so people understand the situation better. And I'm glad that we could help out in some way through the show. And I
thank
hope
you.
this has opened some doors for you in some way. Thank you so much for joining us and
Thank you.
inspiring us in your very own way. So you do take
Thank you
care
so
and
much.
have a lovely one. Thank you so much, Charlie Peterson.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
It was only a pleasure. Take care. Bye bye.
Thank
That was
you.
Charlie
Bye.
Peterson talking to us about the consequences of an absent dad and the foundation that he's created. And I think we need to start really penning light on how to bridge the gaps on these types of situations that are happening in society and creating better qualities of lives through better communities. We'll be back with you in a minute.